Jessica here from Fox's Blog Knits. Welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're a new visitor here. So today is my monthly check-in or video podcast, and I'll be sharing what I've been up to over the past month. Things like stuff that I'm working on, finished objects, yarn additions, that kind of thing. So today's episode is a newsy one, so I hope that you're incredibly comfortable. And as always, thank you for joining me today from wherever you are in the world. I am coming to you from sunny Mangawhai in Northland, New Zealand, where I live with my teenage daughter and my partner, and our pets Jasper the dog and Primrose the cat. And a lawnmower has just started and it's super sunny. So anyway, if you haven't already, I would love it if you could subscribe to my channel, plus remember to turn on notifications, and maybe you'd like to check out the rest of my channel for more knitting content just like this. And of course, if you have enjoyed this episode, please remember to give it a like. Now, I always include for you show notes and links to anything that I've mentioned, such as patterns or products, in the description below, so make sure that you check those out at the end of this video if something that I've mentioned piques your interest. Let's start with finished objects because they are the most exciting. Now, during my monthly podcasts, I just go over my finished objects really lightly, and if you're keen to know more and really get into them, you can watch the full specific video. When those are ready, I always add them to my FO playlist, so make sure that you subscribe and turn on the bell so that you know when those are posted. First off, you may have seen this gorgeous sweater that I finished recently in a finished object video, or perhaps you've seen some snippets on my Instagram stories. But if you haven't seen it yet, it is the Magnolia Sweater by designer Camilla Vad. Here we go. Lovely. And I do love how the sweater has turned out. It is such a pretty lace pattern, and I love the yarn combination that I've used. The lace was actually really simple, although I did loathe doing the bobbles. Yeah, definitely one of those techniques that I really had to push myself through. The charted pattern was really easy to follow, although in some places the stitches didn't add up, and even though I followed it to the letter, I have no idea what happened there, but it all kind of worked out in the end, and I can't even tell where those bits were now. So it's funny that, as you are creating something and you make a mistake and you totally think it's going to stick out like a sore thumb afterwards, only to find that it's totally fine. So I've actually been wearing this quite a bit. It is a great fit for wearing underneath a jacket and layering, so I'll definitely be keeping that in mind for future sweaters on my list. This is a very popular pattern with plenty of other projects on Ravelry to inspire you with different colours and different yarn combinations. Next, I made a sweet little hat to tuck in with the cardigan that I made for my nephew Woody that I showed you in the last episode. I'm actually still yet to send this off in the mail. It's on the list of things to do this week. But before I do, I wanted to put a few more things in there. So this is the marshmallow hat, and I think it was the double pom-poms that really sold me on it and sucked me in. It's super cute. I still need to make the neckties for this one and attach those, so technically this is not a finished object, but it's finished enough. The pattern says to make an I-cord bind off, but to me that's just way too much admin. So I'm going to whip up some crochet ties and add those on there. It's a bit of a weird pattern, this one. I made the newborn size and my gauge was spot on, but this kind of feels like it might be too big and it doesn't quite look like the photo from the pattern, so I may have to make it in a different yarn. This pattern is available as a free Ravelry download, and I'll make sure that I link it in the description below. I'm not sure what I did there with this, but maybe it will look right once there's a head inside of it. So there we go. Next up are the Cyril Socks, which I finally finished, and I made some socks. I made a whole pair of socks. These were my first ever socks making them, and Julie Bauer, one of my lovely vlog viewers, actually suggested this pattern designer to me on my last monthly episode. Wow, try to say that. So thank you, Julie. I always read and check out any pattern recommendations that you guys make to me, so I really appreciate those that have made suggestions. These socks are by designer Little Bobbins, who is Danielle George, and she has some really pretty sock patterns. And I couldn't decide between these Cyril socks and the Rita socks, so I decided to buy myself both patterns. I'm not 100% sure that I am in fact a sock knitter. They were kind of fun, but also initially these were really taking me forever, longer than a knitted sweater, and I think I only knitted an inch or so in the evening, which is hardly anything for me, and it was really frustrating. I mean, I will make some more socks, but I don't think I'm a I must knit socks all the time kind of person. And to be honest, I really didn't think that I'd have the second sock finished for this episode. But as soon as I started it, it really was lightning fast. And I did more than an inch a night. I think the first sock took me like a week and the second sock took me a couple of days. So the first sock is seriously jam-packed with all kinds of mistakes. So I'm not even going to show it to you. They're just... You can kind of get away with them because once they're on, you can't actually tell. And yeah, it's an absolute hot mess. Totally my fault and no fault of the pattern itself. Just a few instances where I didn't quite read it properly. It is a super cute pattern and it's quite simple to follow when you read it properly. Even though I had a few of my own head scratching moments. And I really enjoyed working on the smaller needles. And I love how these look with this really cute yarn that I chose by Kiwi Yarn A in the colourway Lamingtons. And I'll share a little bit more about that yarn later on in this episode. But I love Rebecca's yarns, and I'll make sure that I pop a link in the description to her store. I'll also be doing a full finished object video on these socks, as well as the other socks that I wanted to make. Also, in my last episode, I mentioned the sock knitting books that I did the layout design for, not the pattern designs. Those were by the lovely Belinda too, who goes by the name Blendy Knits. Well, I found the books, and I'm so glad that I did. I am a hoarder. Well, I'm not really a hoarder, but I am a keeper of special things, and I always keep any finished products that I've worked on or designed. There are so many really good patterns in these books, and you can actually still grab copies of these books from her website, blendyknits.com, to support Belinda and her pattern designs. And I will of course pop a link below as well. I think that I might actually have a go at some of her other socks in these books over the next month. So I pop those down there. So let's talk yarn additions. Now, I really didn't intend on treating myself too much this past month, but it just kind of happened. And I actually make a real conscious effort to be consumer conscious and budget conscious, and only buy yarn for specific projects that I have in mind. Mainly just so that I have the right amount and I don't have it sitting around gathering dust and taking up a whole lot of room. And yarn is expensive. Fast consumerism is not something that I am an advocate of. But in saying that, I did kind of go a little bit out the window with some of that. Only as I gathered things together for this episode, I worked that out. So, first off is the yarn that I was just talking about, which I used with the Cyril Socks. And it really is the sweetest colourway, and it knits up so nicely. I have a little bit of it left as well. It is by Kiwi Yarn A, and it is in the colourway Lamingtons. I'll have to have a look to see what I can make with this later on, but it is a 4-ply sock yarn made from 80% merino and 20% nylon. It comes in a 100 gram hank, and that works out to be about 400 meters of that yarn. So there's plenty in there. I also bought some more from her as well, from Rebecca, in this colorway, which is chocolate strawberry. And this is beautiful. this is really, really lovely. I thought that it would be lovely knitted into some Rita socks. The pretty tones of mauve and rich burgundy and the purple speckles really make it so nice, and I'm really keen to see what this looks like once it's been made into a fabric. And because I have little to no self-control, and this was on sale, so I don't feel so bad. I also bought myself this skein from Rebecca, which is called Dirty Green. And apparently this is a second, but the one that I bought was a second, and she had to change it to another one because I think she sold it, which I don't think this is a second because it's absolutely gorgeous. It's such a lovely colour. This is a high twist 4-ply merino, and this is going to be a pair of socks for my boyfriend, who's finally letting me make him some things, and I think it was just that he needed to see everything I knit wasn't super fuddy-duddy before giving me his tick of approval in the style department. So I do appreciate that. Also, he is a really keen snowboarder, so I thought that some socks for when he goes to the snow next would be perfect. We're having the most amazing snow season here in New Zealand, but he hasn't been down to the snow yet as he hurt his back, but I'm hoping that he'll be able to get down in the next month and make the most of it. So, next is this black edition, which is really quite boring, but in the last episode, if you'll remember, I was waiting for this yarn to arrive, and it arrived the next day. Typical. It is a lovely 4-ply merino, 100% merino, and it's superwash. This is the Debbie Bliss Rialto that I'll be combining it with a black cumulus that I shared in my last episode, and I got that a couple of months ago. I'll most likely be making something that I'm actually designing myself, so watch this space. If it works out, I'll definitely be sharing the pattern with you. And about a month ago, just after my last episode, I can't find it. I bought some of this multicoloured yarn from New Zealand yarn company Bandit. And this is their Bandit sock yarn in Adventure Sprinkles. And I think I just loved it because the name reminded me of Adventure Time. This is a easy wash 4-ply that looks super cute when it's knitted up. And I will show you that here. I'm trapped on something. Okay, this is what it looks like knitted up. And this is the yarn. I love their packaging with the little paw prints. So cool. I did have in mind to knit some really cute baby socks to make and send over to my nephews in the UK with this yarn, mainly because it's machine washable, it's really soft, and it's a lot of fun to use. I started making some socks, these socks, which are allegedly for a 12-month-old baby, but they're turning out completely super massive. So last night I actually cast on something completely different with the same yarn, and they are super, super teeny and sweet. And I'll have to finish making them and share with you what that looks like and what that ends up being in another episode. So yeah, I'm always learning, gosh. And I have one more yarn to show you before I jump into my whips and my other news. And it is a beautiful yarn from Auckland-based company Fibre2Go. And Lynn is the dyer behind the store, and this is from her white lavender collection in the colourway silver. It's her Ziggy DK. Cute packaging. And the lavender collection is a new release from Lynn, and Lynn is actually the mum of my lovely friend Nikki, and when I launched my channel she said that I must check out her mum's shop, and I'm really pleased that I did. It's a super, super soft DK weight, and as I mentioned, this is the colourway silver. I have already started using this for my whip that I'll show you shortly, and it is a warm toned silver, which I wasn't expecting, but I bought this online, and it's always a little bit, it's a bit of a gamble when you buy something online, but I don't know what my hair's doing, but it's a very flattering tone on me, and I can't wait to see how this turns out. So, actually, I did fib. I have these to show you as well. I'm sorry. This is quite a lot of yarn, and it's almost embarrassing. But everything is destined to be a specific project, however. So, so it's not too bad. So I picked up some more of my favourite nudie yarn from Wild Earth Yarns. This time I bought some of the 3-ply and I also bought some 8-ply sort of DK weight. So this is a really good lace weight merino as a base, and this DK is going to be really, really nice to knit up and to make something. So these are actually destined for my personal dye pot, and I'll be having a play with the DK and dyeing this with some blackberries that have been sitting in the back of the freezer for I don't even know how long. They've been in, I think maybe even like 3 years. Anyway, they're not going to be eaten, so I thought I'll have a go at dyeing them, and I can just imagine this being put together with a beautiful purple fluff and being so lovely and soft. Also, I heard from Rebecca, who's the dyer behind Kiwi Yarn A. She mentioned to me in an email that she'd actually had coffee with Jackie, who is the owner of Wild Earth Yarns, and Jackie told her that one of my lovely viewers from Finland bought some of her yarn. So I love that. I love that no matter where we are, we're all connected through the fibre arts, and thank you to that lovely viewer who is helping support a family-owned business, and you'll no doubt be having a little slice of New Zealand heading your way. We are nearly done with the yarn editions, I promise. So one yarn edition that is actually yet to arrive, so technically it will be in the next episode, next month, is some yarn from Dunedin-based Yeah Yeah Yarn, which I am so excited about. Caroline is the indie dyer behind the brand, and she dyes all of her yarn to order. So the wait will probably be a couple of weeks away, and it'll be extra sweet when it arrives, so I can show you what I chose next month depending on when they arrive, and I can tell you more about it then. Now I have 2 other nifty additions that aren't yarn additions as such, but are very relative for knit folk, and they are being these clover pom-pom makers. So I love a gadget. I'm sure that you've seen these before, but after making that first little beanie for Woody, which you can check out my last episode if you missed that one, using cardboard and everything was such a pain. These are super, super speedy and make perfect pom-poms. I made these pom-poms using these, and honestly, like 5 minutes to make them rather than like maybe 10 or 20 minutes with cardboard. Definitely well worth it, especially because hats always look better. They're super, super speedy, and I picked these up from another design and photography client of mine, actually, the embroiderer, who is based in Northcote Down in Auckland. So handy. So she's actually got a really fabulous shop if you're in Auckland and you're into embroidery and needlework. The other addition that I got was these custom made labels I had made. Yay! Very cool. One is for superwash yarn and the other is for non-superwash. I bought these through the Dutch label shop, who are online, and they ship worldwide, and they weren't actually too expensive. I thought that these were great for someone when you make a gift. I know that it can be really hard to remember care instructions, especially even if you've made it yourself, let alone when you've made it for somebody else, especially rushing around, all the life admin, all that kind of stuff. And I actually had some of these custom made for my mum for her birthday as well. My mum has recently gotten back into knitting, which is really cool, and she is mostly making stuff for herself, but she has labels for when she decides to make the grandkids things too. So my whips. So what is on my needles? Well, I've been working away, I'll pull it out of my bag. I've been working away on the Magnolia Sweater by Trico. I'm really sorry if I've said that wrong. Designs. I'll pop an image of the pattern that I'm making. This is a beautiful pattern. It is so pretty, and I love the little extra frill around the yoke with just a touch of lace. And the rest of the sweater is really nice and understated, and it comes with 2 sleeve options, short and long sleeve. I think I'm going to go for the long, as this is a merino that I'm making it out of. But I might make the sleeve perhaps more of a bell type sleeve, just to play up the feminine silhouette of the yoke. As you can see, I have not done a huge amount. I am up to the part where you split off some of the yoke stitches and leave them on hold for the frill. And that is all I am currently working on at the moment. I am a monogamous knitter, but I did take a break and break that rule really when I made the Cyril Socks. As I was so frustrated at how long they were taking me, I decided to cast on the Magnolia Sweater. But then I felt really bad and I put this to the side and I finished my pair of socks. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure why I only like to knit one thing at a time. It's not really a conscious decision, but I do think that it does help me get through things a lot faster. Or if something is a bit complicated, it helps you not to forget where you're up to if you put it down. Inadvertently, it does create a lot of pressure for the next project, so that you really, when you cast something on, you want to make sure that it's something that you really, really want to make, because it might be a while before you get to make the next one, and if you're not into it. So in other news, what else has been happening in the last month? Well, firstly, I do hope that everyone out there around the world is safe and well. It's been a pretty crazy time at the moment with the COVID-19 pandemic. And while I definitely haven't forgotten all about it, I haven't mentioned much here on my channel or even really acknowledged what's been going on. I sort of just want to make this a little bit of escapism for everyone, if that makes sense. I know for myself, I try not to spend too much time talking about it. I personally find that the bombardment in the media all the time is really exhausting, and I need to protect myself from consuming too much media. And yeah, I feel like the coverage is out there if you would like to seek it, but here I really just wanted to stick to my knitting. And carrying on from there, at the beginning of when we went into the first lockdown here in New Zealand, which was late March this year, 2020, during that time I made this sweater. And I'm thinking that I might actually rip the whole thing back and make something new from it, which I know is awful. I'll show it to you. It's perfectly fine. It's a non-offensive sweater. It was knitted flat, and this was my first time and probably my last time knitting something flat and seaming it, because it took me so long. My God. It really, really took so long, and it was so much work. So many rows of purls. No thank you. I also didn't gauge swatch this at all and ended up playing a game of yarn chicken with the body, as I knitted the sleeves first and then the body gobbled up all the yarn that I had. And because I didn't do a gauge swatch because it was knitting flat and across, and I knew that I could adjust the time. That made no sense. I could adjust the stitches as I went, knowing that I could see it all there. So I did order another skein, but it didn't arrive in time for my impatience. And now that it's arrived and I've got this sweater here, which I think is like 8 skeins, and I'm not overly keen on the style. I think it's just the neckline. It's quite choppy. It's got no shaping in there. I don't think that I'll wear it anymore. I have worn it a couple of times out and I did get a lot of compliments on it, but I think that it was just the colour. And I don't want the yarn to go to waste. The yarn is absolutely beautifully, it's just lovely. It's so soft. This is the 8-ply 100% Merino from Perriam in Queenstown, and as you know, it is one of my favourite yarns. So, what do you think? Do you think I should rip it back? Or reuse it? Or just suck it up and wear it? I don't know. I'm probably going to rip it back, but the other option that I thought I could do was rip back just the middle part and redo the body and then stick the sleeves on, so I'm not having to do the whole thing. But anyway, let me know in the comments what you think I should do. The other thing that I've been busy working on is putting together my own shop. I've actually been really struggling to find notions that suit my style. And as a designer, I like clean and contemporary accessories and notions, so I have scoured around to find things that suit my taste, and I've actually been designing some of my own products that are a little while in the making. But to start with, I'll just have stitch markers and all kinds of other notions. So I'm not planning on selling any yarn at this stage. Instead, I'll connect you directly with yarn suppliers and dyers. It will just be a dedicated store for cool and stylish tools and accessories. And it's all coming together really nicely. I'll be aiming to launch the store in the next month or so, probably the latter, just with how long postage and shipping is taking for things that I've ordered. So watch this space. And if you would like to be first in the know, you can actually sign up via my website, and I'll be sending out a launch email when it's live, plus a lovely discount for all my channel watchers. So what else? Last episode I did chat to you about wanting to dye some yarn with avocado skins and pits, and if you watched my stories you'll know that I did it. This is a sneak peek of the results. I was really wanting a super light blush coloured colour, and I think it came out really, really well. This is the original yarn, and then this is the dyed yarn, just so that you can see, it's on its own, it doesn't really look like anything, but it has taken a beautiful colour. I really wanted something that wasn't too dark or vibrant, and this came out really, really well. And I'll do a full video on the process and upload that in the coming weeks. But yeah, it was pretty fun. It was darker when the yarn was still wet. It was more of a peach, which I was slightly concerned about, but I mean, now look at it, it's so pretty. And this is destined to be a balloon cardigan, another petite knit pattern, and I'll be pairing it with this. So these two will be going together. And this is my favourite alpaca, Cumulus by Fibre Space in blush, and I actually bought this before my last episode from Holland Road Yarns in Wellington. So there we go. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Yeah, so here's hoping I can do that within the next month, and of course share a finished object video. So next, I wanted to talk to you about patterns that I wanted to make. So what am I planning to make next, or what am I hoping to make next? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'd love to make a pair of the Rialto socks, and now I have the perfect yarn to make those, which is the chocolate strawberry yarn. Really, really nice. I've also purchased the pattern for the Whitmore sweater by designer Amy Loudon. The version that she has made is just gorgeous, and it's got this delicate leaf pattern around the yoke, and I'll pop a photo up. It's a simple pattern with stockinette stitch for the body, and I had such a lovely time making the Magnolia that I was really keen to have a go at another lace design, so I'm really excited to make that. And if I do make that, I'm going to probably use the this rust yarn, as I think that it would look really, really great in that design. Also, I still have the balloon cardigan by Petite Knit on my list to make. I've already purchased the pattern actually a couple of months ago, and now I have the yarn ready. I just have to cast it on. So what's coming up on Fox's Blog Knits? Well, I am just finishing up my top 10 knitting hacks video as a follow-up to my 9 beginner tips. Definitely some gems in there. I'm also working on some ideas to give you some Christmas making inspiration, Southern Hemisphere style, which I'm super excited about. Knitting need not just be for a northern winter over Christmas, as I'm sure you all know. And then, when you lovely northern hemisphere people watch it, you can get a jump on your summer knits. So, yeah, as I've mentioned, I've also managed to twist the arm of my partner to let me make him a few things. So, we'll see how we go on with that. And I'll be working hard to get the shop up and running, plus of course my usual design work, which has been quite busy as well as of late. Lots of branding, lots of website updates and things like that to keep me busy. So I'm very, very lucky that work has picked up. So yeah, so let me know in the comments if you're planning on making anything that I've made, or what you're working on, or anything that you think that I need to know about. I do love to hear about what everyone is up to, and check out new designs that you think that I might like. So as always, my bigger chatty video podcasts are once a month, and between times I'll be sharing my finished objects, plus knitting know-how and other goodies. So be sure to check out the rest of my channel if you've enjoyed this one. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure that you do give it a like. So thanks for being with me here again today, and I'll see you again soon for the next episode of Fox's Blog Knits. Happy knitting, everyone. Bye.